What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble, proudly sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. If you are a growing business and you want to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. And thank you to them for sponsoring this video. I had a lot of positive feedback, actually, from our latest, what was a Ramblers special live chat. And then we've later released it into the wild, as we say. So it's now available for everybody. I thought it went quite well, to be honest. Look, we've got to change something, haven't we? Things have got to change, and I don't necessarily mean Eki. So today, what I'm going to look at is how we save our season, and it doesn't mean sacking the manager. So I've got a 7-point plan that we're going to go through that I think Eki could easily implement some of these changes. We've got to change some, haven't we? Let's be right. Point one, back to the drawing board. We've tried to implement a few different things this season, things that we've changed around a little bit. The obvious one for me being the defensive coach. If Mark Hudson isn't working, it's not worth the job of everybody at the club, the entire management team. And that may seem harsh on Mark Hudson, but something is not working. Would Chris Morgan do a better job? Would Jack O'Connell do a better job? Even now, do we look at, would Chris Basham do a better job as a defensive coach? Certainly while he's out, I'm not saying his career's done yet, but something has to change in that department. So we go back to the drawing board. We need to look at training methods. Why are so many players getting injured? Are the fitness plans where they need to be? Tom Little hasn't been at the club a long time. Is there something he needs to tweak in the programming of players' fitness programs? Or are we training too hard? Is there something that we need to do in training to stop and mitigate all these injuries we keep getting time after time? Slow recovery and all this sort of thing. It can't just be bad luck. We need to go back to the drawing board. The second thing I think we need to be doing, and I'm not saying this isn't happening, but I think it's definitely needed, and it's probably a little bit old school, and it's probably doesn't necessarily happen in the football world, but I think it's basic man management. And I think what we've got to do is speak to the players individually, get them in on a one-to-one. How do you feel your personal season is going? We know how it's going for the team, but what can you do as an individual to improve your game? Is there anything we can do as a management team to help you get more comfortable in what you're doing this season? What things do we need to work on with you as a bespoke plan? Not just what the coaches think your areas of weakness are. What does the player think? And they may feel valued from that. Have we asked the question as to what the players think might be the issue with them as an individual? You can't ask them to critique the whole training process unless there are a few trusted members of a core group. But in terms of their individual bespoke needs as a player to get better, what do they think they're struggling with? Third one, and perhaps the most important one for me, and that's the formations. I think we are rigidly stuck to a 3-5-2, which I love. I love the fact that we had an identity with a 3-5-2. We've obviously gone through the phases with it in terms of the overlapping centre backs and the number 10 in front of two midfielders. We then adapted it under Wilder in the Premier League to lose the 10 role and go to a flat 3, but we still had the overlapping centre backs. When Eki's come in, yes, it's the same formation, but it's different tactics. We didn't overlap anymore. We kept the same formation, but we didn't overlap. Sometimes Anel would underlap, but then we'd have nothing on the other side because we didn't really set up that way. So, and it's worked for us in the Championship. We got promoted. He's sometimes gone with one up top and two off. He sometimes goes with two up top and one off. He sometimes goes with a flat 3. So in that respect, it is a little bit more fluid. But I think in the Premier League, there's so much more that you need to be able to do and adapt to in games. So I'm not wedded to this 3-5-2. I think a big reason we were stuck with the 3-5-2, and this is just my opinion again, as is all of this, by the way. I'm not saying for 1 minute that I am the answer to all of this or this plan is the answer. It's just what I think we can do to just improve the small margins. John Egan, for me, cannot play in a back 4. And that's always been a huge, huge concern because he was, for a prolonged period, our strongest defender. He's now not only not our strongest defender, he's also out injured for a prolonged period of time. So this is the first formation I'm going to float to you. And it's one I suggested pre-Fulham, I think. So I'm going Wes in goal, George Baldock right back. I'm caving in and I'm going with the Ramblers' suggestion of Jackie Longthrow at left back. I'm not against that at all. I still think There's time for Thomas to improve, but he's not been great last couple of games. And Jack Robinson, I think, deserves to be in this team, although I'm having Trusty and Anel as my main centre-backs. So we keep that grit and that steel for Jack Robinson. We've got the long throw weapon that we can also utilise, but we're not as susceptible in the middle to a Jack Robinson error. I'm going Vinny Souza in the middle, Gus Hamer and Slimani either side of him, with McAtee just in front and Ollie McBurney just deep of Cameron Archer. It's a formation I'm really keen for us to try, but there's variations to it. So if you look at this one, for example, same back four, Wes in goal, and then Baldock, Anel, Trusty, and Jackie Longthrow. I'm keeping Vinny Souza in the middle, but this time I'm putting Norwood alongside him. This is more of your 4-2-3-1. And I'm having Jaden Bogle come into right midfield because, let's be right, he's much better going forward than he is defensively. We haven't got any wingers in this squad. You could swap him out for Traore if you're not comfortable with that. And Traore's not a winger. He's just nippy and quick. I'm having James McAtee pushed a little bit further out on the left than he's used to. Again, no wingers, but he's certainly a creative player. And I think he could impact us from there. And I'm having Gus in a more attacking role, sort of a deeper number 10 behind Cameron Archer. And you take your pick personally whether you want Ollie McBurney or Cameron Archer in the starting lineup. I think if Archer is your last man off the shoulder of defenders, not getting the ball lumped up to him high, he's our best striker by some stretch, if I'm honest. As I said, I'm not wedded to the 3-5-2. I've given you a couple of 4 at the backs to think about there. Well, how about this one instead? Going back to your 3 at the back, but this time I'm having George Baldock dropping as right centre back. I know he's not the tallest, but he's a tough tackling defender, no nonsense. And I'm having Anel in the middle where I think he's the most comfortable in a 3. Trusty as my left centre back, and I'm keeping Jackie Longthrow as my left wing back. He's not going to be expected to get up and down, which might affect us a little bit, but I do think it makes us a little bit more solid defensively. And opposed to the other side where I think Boga will get up and down. But I think that's a really strong defence. Whether it's a little bit susceptible at this level, I'm not sure, but beggars can't be choosers, can they? I'm having Big Vinny and Norwood still in the middle, and McAtee and Gus slightly further forward. Probably McAtee more of the free role, but a little bit of sort of intertwining there behind the one striker, which would be Cameron Archer for me. But again, Ollie McBurney, if you so prefer. And my final formation is very much in a similar vein, that same back 5, with Baldock at right centre-back, Trusty at left centre-back, Anel in the middle, Bogle at right wing-back, Jackie Longthrow at left wing-back. And I'm having Vinny sitting with Slimani and Gus a little bit deeper. I'm having McAtee just off Archer a little bit higher up. So there's variations there of base formations, if you like. We have to have that in our locker that we're able to switch to. I think point 4 covers that because play some behind closed doors games, maybe just 60-minute games during the international break where we try out these new formations, try out these new ways of playing, get some practice games set up against the 21s or those players that aren't in the first 11, have them field a really strong side. It links into point 5, what I'm going to say as well. Don't just turn up and play your rigid 3-5-2. Be flexible to what the opposition's playing, and we can adapt our style to what we think will affect that game. In the Championship, we just used to rock up and say, this is the way we play. We're going to dominate possession. We're playing 3-5-2. You can't beat us because we're better than you. And 9 times out of 10, we'd win. We got promoted. It's not going to happen in this division. If we say to a West Ham or an Aston Villa, we're playing 3 at back. Whatever you come up against us where we've got 3 at back. Well, if West Ham are playing 1 striker, then why have we got 3 at back? Why can't we switch to a 4 and pack the midfield out a little bit? So point 5 is switching to the oppo in terms of adapting to what these better teams, let's call it as it is, adapting to what these better teams are bringing. And if we've had those practice games, that familiarity, those under 21 behind closed doors games, whatever it might be, yes, you run a higher risk of injury and fatigue. But for example, we've got a game at Hillsborough coming up on Friday for the under 21s. And there's still then 8 more days until Man United at home. Why aren't we trying stuff? You know, why don't we get the under 21s in on the Monday and play a game? I'm sure they're doing this all the time, but in terms of getting that shape and that fluidity, so that in a game we can say, right, they've gone from 1 up top and they've switched it at half time and they've put 2 there. And now we're going to struggle. It's going to be 2v2. Our centre backs are going to be isolated. Let's switch. Let's go to a 3-5-2 and counter it because we know how to play that way. We haven't got that fluidity in the side, and we need it. And I think it's what we're severely lacking because there is no plan B currently. Let's get a plan B, C, and even D. Point 6, I think, is an underrated point. And I know we do this a little bit, but I would blend the senior and the youth teams together. And I know we call up the best of the youth team to train with us from time to time, but I would have them round each other an awful lot more. I would have them integrated into the side. If we're going to have an Andre Brooks or an Antoine Hackford or whoever it might be, bleed into this team, into our first team at some stage, they have to be around the players. They have to be playing the way we play. They have to be playing in these practice games. They could be the opposition set up the same way, if you like. We have to get that pathway opened up even more. I know they've been in and around the bench and things like that, and it leads into what I'm going to finish on later, but we need these youth players to have that natural transition into our first team, particularly if we're going to adapt the style. The final point, the thing that I think is critical that we do, because it's just been flip-flopped around, and I don't think we've really had a suitable candidate. I'm not the only one to mention it, but we have been banging on about this for a long time. Give the armband to George Baldock. If I have to concede and you give it to McBurney instead, then I'll concede that. But I would like George Baldock to take the armband. I think Ollie McBurney is your perfect vice captain. Ollie Norwood, not a leader for me. Might be on occasion via his performances, but he's not going to be telling everybody where to go, other than the odd point and knocking the ball out of play. And that's me being salty, but I'm frustrated and we need to change something. George to have the armband, I think it's a no-brainer. He cares, he gets it, there's passion. He's our new leader for me. I don't see any other candidate that stands out like he does. And finally, for your little bonus at the end.
Yes, it's an extender.
I think it needs a critical review in January. And what I mean by that is, I'm not suggesting wholesale changes. We're 10 points adrift. I don't think we need to throw the kitchen sink at it and get your Divock Origis, who we were linked with. You know, these sort of players on massive wages that'll cripple us in the short term and give us half a chance. No, what I'm saying is, if Ollie Arblaster is still having a Player of the Year performance at Port Vale and Norwood's not doing the business and we've still got a couple of injuries and it looks like we're going to struggle, why not call Ollie Arblaster back if you're going to play him and blood some of these really promising youngsters into the side? I talk about critically reviewing it in January because it could be the other way. We might be 3 points from safety. We might be 3 points outside the relegation zone. And in that case, we strengthen. We strengthen the side and we go again. We maybe try to offload players that we know are not going to be here next season. Either way, whatever division we're in. I'm talking about your John Flex. I'm talking about Max Lowe's. I think Adam Davis could well be in that mix because we need some competition for Wes. Another controversial one that I'm not going to go into now, but January is essential for whatever circumstance we're in, because if it does look like it's curtains, even as early as January, let's now plan for next season. Let's plan for life after Chris Basham, unfortunately. Plan for life after Ollie Norwood, John Fleck, John Egan even, because we don't know what he's going to be like after the injury, unfortunately. It feels like there's a lot to do. But hopefully, at least, even if it's just one or two of those points that we start to do, then surely it gives us a little bit of a chance. Now I want to know what you think. I've put some suggestions forward there. You might think some are useless. You might think some are, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That might be decent. It's literally just one lad's opinion on little things that I think we can squeeze. And, you know, who am I to say that? But this is just me putting forth my opinion. I'm interested to hear yours. Get your comments down below as to how you think, how else you think we could change it. If you like what we do and you're not already, please do subscribe to the channel. Like the video, it gets more eyes on it. That would be very much appreciated. But the subscription is where it's at because we're trying to get to that 5K before Christmas Day. I've had a couple of sort of nudges. Jimmy, why are you saying this? Why are you on the Wilder train so much? Why, you know, you've got to be more impartial. And I appreciate people are looking out for me in terms of you don't want to alienate people. But again, this channel for me and for us is the key to it for me. What I always want to be is authentic, and I don't want to sort of spin something that I don't believe in. So I thank everybody for their support. It's very much appreciated. Thanks again to our Ramblers. They are the backbone of this channel and they keep us going. All their support is very much appreciated. And that's why I'm going to start focusing on doing a little bit more Ramblers only content, which you'll get eventually, I'm sure, if you're not a Rambler. But I love that interaction with them. They, as I say, they support the channel beyond what's expected. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades.
Ramble on.